joining me today. I know you're all teachers, but today I'm going to give you some insights on customer service and coming from a hospitality background, and the use of technology and maybe the cost of technology. So today we are going to, in the 30-minute session, talk about the rise of tech and the decline of touch, the human touch. Where's the heart? How to reclaim that touch. We'll do a little Q&A at the end. And firstly, I wanted to talk about why focus on this. So as I said, it's coming from a hospitality background. My working career has been with people, hospitality and now teaching. And I do think there's a bit of a decline, mainly because of technology in the way younger people are communicating. And I think that's affecting customer service across the board. And I've noticed it a lot at fast food areas where it's really young people. I'll give you an example at McDonald's. When you used to go through the drive-through, it would be quite a fun experience. Hi, welcome to McDonald's. What can we get you? You'd start saying your order. They'd try and upsell you. Would you like a large? Would you like an apple pie? All of that sort of stuff, which I admire the art of upselling in a customer service role. And I found that recently that's not at all the case. So if you drive up to the window, one of the first things they'll ask you is, are you using the app? And whether you say yes or no, then you'll go through and place your order. And before they even try and upsell or listen to the rest of your sentence, it was that all? Was that all? Okay, yep, I guess that's all. You drive to the next window, and very rarely do you even get a word. It's just they look at you, stick their hand out the window with the EFTPOS machine, and you're expected to just tap. And on the rare occasion that you might say cash, they're almost dumbfounded at this. So I think from a place where I used to hire a lot of people, if they had McDonald's on their resume, it stood out to me as great training. And now not so much. Like, I think they've really lost that touch. So yeah, I've started to do a little bit of research about it and looked into the rise of technology and customer service and hospitality. What is hospitality, you might say? To me, food and beverage obviously is serving food and drinks to people. But it's more than that. And as cheesy as it sounds, I do believe in hospitality, we're actually creating memorable moments, and it's giving that social interaction which you don't get from home. And so why people come to a restaurant, in my opinion, is to get that experience, to be out with friends, communication, chat, environment. And yeah, I think you as a professional in that industry get to make a really big impression on people and create something for them. And I think technology, as useful as it can be, is taking away a lot of that too. Now, I know I've said it's going to be customer service and retail, but I would also like to explore your roles, all of us as teachers, and how it might affect you. And obviously, our students are our customers, so a lot of it can relate to our role specific. But I want to start with asking a question. What technology do you use with your students, and how do you think it helps or maybe challenges them? Does anyone have an example?
Just the learning management system on a computer.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that that's helping them?
I think so, but I think it's a challenge for a lot of people. I think everybody should get used to the technology,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes it slows down the learning because so it's good and bad, good and bad.
Yeah, I think we need to definitely kind of stick with using technology. It's the way the future's moving. And then that soft touch as well. I know we've started using the learner management system online with a lot of the students. Yeah, anyone else?
Well, I think in the olden days when I had classes full of young people, say apprentices or something, when I was teaching hairdressing or something like that, or even when I was at TAFE and I had big classes of 20 with mainly school leavers or at-risk school leavers or things like that, the challenge was for them not to be using their phone for technology,
Mm-hmm.
to be using the computer. So there's like, I think different forms of technology have different impacts on different demographics, different people demographics kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not much of a social media person, and I get really frustrated if people are using social media kind of when you're sitting there with them. I don't like that. It's offensive to me, but people do it. I wouldn't say anything, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It can be. I remember that in school, thinking to myself, we used to do a lot of dictation or copying things off the whiteboard and writing it down. I remember thinking, I just wish there was a way that we could get that information and have it and not have to write it, not appreciating that, by writing it down, listening and reading it, you're taking it in a different way. Nowadays, it can all just be sent. It can be just sent to the students on their phones, on their laptops, whatever it is, and it's not a bad thing. It's giving them, I guess, more opportunity to engage in the activities, less about the writing, maybe. Um,
I
yeah,
guess, like all things, it's got its good side and it's got its bad side.
yeah, that's right.
So I believe it's according to the age of the customer as well. If we're talking about mid-age is different from youngest. So for my field, I'll talk about my field. Mostly they come like mid-age. So you need to cater for their needs by trying to introduce the technology to them and how they integrate it in their life. Try to introduce something like, I know most of them like the books, but you try to give them an idea about Kindle. Try to
Hmm.
teach them how to use online surveys, things that they would need day-to-day needs, I would say. So yes, it's important, but I am afraid that it's taking over. Technology is taking over the lives of youngsters. If I go to the metro, you'll find everybody's on the phone, nobody's interacting. Even if there are two kids sitting beside each other, they don't even talk to each other anymore. So it's so sad.
Yeah, I do. I think it's sad. I think I can see it, and as long as we're aware of it, we can kind of make a positive influence in the direction it's going. I think everyone is aware of it now, compared to maybe 10 years ago, where it was all the hype and fun. Now we see there's a bit of a downside.
Yeah,
And yeah, for
sure.
me, focusing back on the hospitality, that's something that I really do feel passionate about. There's the training and the thought and empathy behind serving people. It's the people industry is starting to drift away. Not all the time,
Mm,
but in some areas.
mm, true.
So I've got some examples there of pretty standard uses of the technology in hospitality. We've got self-service kiosks. So a lot of fast food chains now, if you go in and walk into the restaurant, you can kind of do it yourself on a touch screen. In restaurants and cafes, there's QR code menus, mobile check-ins for places like hotels, or even if you're traveling on an airplane, things like that. You can do the whole process yourself. You can go up and put your name in and print your own luggage ticket and send it on its way. And a lot of that helps. A lot of it helps with efficiency, but I think there's also some challenges. And then another one, which I think is common, which companies are using now, is AI-powered chatbots. So if you think something like maybe Telstra or Vodafone, when you have an issue with your, phone or internet, used to be that you call up and you speak to someone. Then it was you call up and you speak to someone from maybe another country, and you got bounced around from department to department before you really could get to speak to someone who understood your issue. And then now they've got the chatbots, which I do think streamline a lot of things, but it can also really take away that personal touch or understanding of your real issue. Can anyone else think of something from hospitality or retail as like technology that's being used?
I would say the robotic restaurant is taking over. I was going
Y-
to ask you this
y-
question. Do you fear that that technology is actually taking over the hospitality section?
I think that's a really good point. I actually intentionally left that out, and I was just telling my
Okay,
mother that
sorry.
I was no, not in a bad way at
Sorry.
all.
Yeah.
I was just talking to my mother of what I was doing, and she mentioned that, and I went, "Yeah, that's perfect. I hope someone brings it up because it's still really early stages of using, robots in restaurants, but it is there, and I think it's more of a gimmick. I think, again, going back to what you said, hey, it does appeal to the younger generations. Like I've seen my nieces and nephews. We went to a Chinese restaurant, the robot just kind of wheels out, opens up its stomach, and there's a dish in there, and the kids are like, "Oh my
Oh,
gosh, the
true.
robot!"
Yeah,
And
it's too
that's all.
cute.
It's really cute and really fun. Whereas my mother's experience was the opposite. She's like, this robot came over to me, opened up, and said, "Put your dirty plate in here." And she was like, "What? What
Oh,
is this? What is happening?" So I
yeah.
think it's more of a gimmick still. in the actual robot sense. But if you think of, I guess, a robot in another sense, like sushi trains, it's rare that you speak to someone when you go to a sushi restaurant where there's a chain. It just food's coming
Yeah.
around on the conveyor belt and you pick it off. So there's different elements of that kind of service from technology.
And we have the delivery bots as well. Like in Dubai, I experienced one in the expo, where you order with your app and he comes to you in the street. And
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah,
like, seriously, guys,
yeah,
like people do not even want to walk, 2 streets ahead. It's
yeah.
like
Well,
crazy.
it is crazy. In COVID, I did some research on Uber and delivery services and things like that, and there was
Mm.
this big rise of what's called a dark kitchen. Has anyone heard of that term before? So
No.
dark kitchen is not customer facing, but
Yeah.
their business is promoted through delivery services. They can operate and serve as a pizza restaurant, a Chinese restaurant, and a Lebanese restaurant, say, all out of one, using three different business kind of profiles, but it's all just using the same product. So it's a really, really smart way of using your products, making sure that you are selling. There's no customers, so it's all done through a delivery driver will come pick up the food and deliver it to the people. And it was a bit of a sad thing, but again, it is the way certain things are moving. I can see from a business perspective without having to have, the real estate of a square footage restaurant, you're going to save money without wait staff, without plates, without any of that sort of stuff. There's a really smart way of doing it. But
Yeah,
then
true.
what was also interesting in the research was that young people were asked, out of COVID, will you still use delivery services? Because a lot of them would get food delivered to their house. And they said, yeah, absolutely. They preferred that to restaurants. They don't like having to get dressed. They don't like having to have these interactions. Much prefer to get food delivered to them in their house and watch what they want to watch on Netflix or something. So yeah, I think it does depend.
PlayStation mostly. They want to stay with the
Yeah,
PlayStation,
yeah, there you go.
Netflix, exactly. Do
Yeah.
the whole shopping, the dressing, not
Mm.
only food. It's also about
Of course,
online
yeah.
shopping. It's picking up
And I think it does
maddeningly. Yeah.
release a
Mm.
certain sort of excitement, I guess. Like you're getting a package delivered. I always get excited when there's mail, even if it's just from the bank. When I see my name on the letter, I'm like, oh, it's for me. And so I think that does release some sort of serotonin, like for the young people. Oh, I've got something delivered to me. Oh, I've got clothes coming, or I've got this. And it's that real instant, gratification instead of even just getting up, getting dressed, driving somewhere, going out, speaking to people, getting a meal. All of that's taken away. It's just instant. So, yeah.
True.
Well, that leads me to our next slide, which is some positives and negatives. So I think the rise of technology, there's a lot of lot of positives. I only put a couple there. Like it can be fast service and it can be very convenient. It can allow remote access through these kind of apps and systems. You can receive quite good discounts. And from a business perspective, it shows you clear analytics of who your customers are, what they're buying, when they're buying, which is really smart. And then you can tailor your marketing to that. So there's some positives, but on a personal level, I think there's more negatives, in my opinion. So I think reduced eye contact and personal interaction is something we're trying to get our younger generations to look up from their phones, and that happens even when you go to a shop. I think loss of spontaneity and empathy is a big one. So we're not able to, with the app or a program or a system like that, you're not able to be spontaneous or empathetic to the customer. And so if there's an issue, it's just really black and white. Can we resolve the issue right now with maybe a refund? Sure, but does that really, satisfy you as a consumer if you've had a problem? And I don't think it does, in my opinion. Um, Less opportunity for upselling. So there are discounts, there are things like that. You can add bonuses and whatnot. But again, not knowing what the customer really wants in that particular moment can not just looking at um, past behaviors. You're not able to upsell and get the most out of them or give them the most out of the interaction. I think service issues are harder to rectify because a lot of the time it's done after the fact, not during. and not always user friendly. So Liz, like you mentioned, you are not huge on social media or anything like that, not as tech savvy as others maybe, and therefore there's challenges in that when you're forced to use it, you know. Yeah. Where is the heart? Have you ever felt ignored or unimportant because of technology? Has anyone ever felt that way? Liz, I know we've used delivery services through Coles and Woolworths and things like that, and I know I have. I know you have shared that too.
Yeah, I've had like mental breakdowns trying to communicate with somebody after the fact. First of all, you've got to talk to the robot, and you've got to swear at it because you're not getting what you want and they're not listening to you. And then maybe somebody will call you. It's ridiculous. We're buying a lot of stuff for our hospitality section, and we're technically having it delivered every week. Even this week, the delivery guy rang me up and said, "Oh, well, where will I park?" I said, "I'm not sure. That's not my problem." And I said, "You'll have to take it up in the lift." And he said, "Oh, well, I don't know if I'll be able to do that." And I said, "Listen, we get delivery off Woolworths every week. It's a training school, and the food needs to be delivered. I paid $17 for the delivery. You need to deliver the food, you know."
Mm,
And then he said, "Oh, okay, yes, okay," because when he thought it wasn't just like a one-off thing where
sure.
someone will run down. Yeah, so it is challenging in that regard.
Yeah, definitely. Have either of you had a kind of bad experience or felt unimportant?
Well, it's not as unimportant as you want to get the job done. For me, like if you call the medical center, press one if you need this, press two if you need that, press six if you need that. And when you reach the eight, you have a big headache and you forgot what was one to start
Mm,
with.
mm,
So like,
yeah.
like come on, like, and then sometimes they tell you, and if you need to communicate to a human, press something else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So what happened to the world? Like, yes, of course, I want to talk to human. Like, so sometimes you don't have that much time, and especially if you're talking about to if you're talking to the bank, if you're talking to medical center, yeah, I just feel so upset.
Mm,
So it pick up on my nerve.
yeah, I feel you.
Mm.
Anything to share?
I agree completely. But also too, I think there is a bit of a backlash to that. So some companies are using it as a way of differentiating themselves when they do have really good customer service people. I
Mm.
think I noticed that.
Oh, absolutely. I think you're right. There is a flip side, and I'll talk about it in the next couple of slides that it's not that hard to make a good
No,
impression now because of it. So, yeah, there's a lot of positives and a lot of negatives. I've put there. Oh no, you can't see that. That's for me. The purpose of customer service in any position is to create a positive outcome for the customers. We often deliver the product or service, but are missing the other needs of the guests. And I think we can only do that when it is face to face. Yeah, I've had that plenty of times in restaurants where a guest comes in and, they'll come in and the first thing is, "Hello, how are you?" And, "Oh, it's very cold outside." And you're like, "Oh, yep, sorry, I can't help that." And you put them in, like, "I can't really read the menu, the lighting's quite dim." And you're like, "Yeah, okay." You very quickly realize this person's come in with a bad attitude and they're not having a good day. I can take it personally, or I can change and fix the problem here and listen to them and just kind of say, "Hey, what can I do to make you more comfortable?" And that sort of stuff is lacking. And hey, like you said there with the phone, when you're calling up, I agree, you get lost in that system. By the time you get to someone, you're quite worked up, and maybe your original issue or reason for contacting these people is not that big of a deal, but the hoops you've had to jump through, you get more and more worked up. So yeah, it can
You
be
get
quite
frustrated,
frustrating.
yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. When was the last time you used a self-checkout or app in a restaurant or hotel? How did it make you feel?
Well, I got excited that I could just figure out how to do it.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
Yeah, I went to the brewery, that
Oh,
place.
yep,
Yeah,
yep, yep.
yeah, and they have that. So, I figured out, I said, we don't have to get out. We can just do it from here. Yeah. So I'm taking my mother-in-law my stepmother-in-law and my Greg's auntie, so they're three sort of 80-year-olds, for dinner on Monday night, and we'll go there, and I'll be able to
I'm gonna
clearly
show it
listen to
off.
what they want, and I'll be able to just clearly order it. We won't be at the thing going, oh no, but no, I want no. So that'll be handy. Yeah.
There you go.
Be
Yeah.
pretty tricky if you were the 80-year-old going on your own, though. Hey.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, you don't have to do that. You just can if you want.
Mm.
Yeah, I think they're pretty cool, those QR codes for serving things. I've got two little stories. One is I went to a bar, like a pub. My eldest son was in the playground. My wife went to the car to get something, and I had the baby on my arm. And I walked up to the bar and said, "Oh, okay, can I get a beer?" She went, "Yeah, sure." As we went to pay, she went, "Oh, um, I can't serve you." And I said, "Oh, why?" She's like, "Because you've got like he's not 18." I went, "No, he's a baby." I'm like, "The beer's not for the baby." And she's like, "Yeah, sorry, no 18. If they're not over 18, they can't be at the bar." And I went, "Oh my God." So I walked back to the table. There's a QR code, so I scanned it, did it, and then she delivered it to me. And I just shook my head like, this is just so silly.
Crazy.
I understand that you have a liquor license and things like that, but that's no policing officer is going to come in and think that that's what's happening. So it's that, humans can be a little bit oblivious too. But another one that I saw, which I thought was actually really fun and highlights, I guess, the another aspect of that QR code is that a couple were like streaming online. Does everyone know what that means? Looking at you, Liz. No, Kirsten?
That means watching Netflix, right?
Kind of. So like
Oh, no,
live
okay.
streaming
Yeah,
is like
streaming
vlogging.
online.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
vlogging, but
live
live.
streaming.
Yeah.
What?
So
It's what?
like a vlog,
It's
a video
vlogging.
blog,
Yes, I've seen them, but
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 who
with a blog,
cares?
blog with a B.
with a
No, with a
V.
V.
So a
I have
V.
no
video.
idea. I've no idea what you're talking about.
So
V.
instead of me just typing about my thoughts, it's me doing a video about my thoughts. And so it's a video blog, a vlog. But then there's another one on social media, which is just you do it live. So it's not premeditated, it's not thought out. It's just, well, sometimes it is. It's just me with my phone going, "Hi guys, my name's Lockie. I'm here at the whatever bar." And this couple were there and they shared their QR code online for the people watching who could then log in and buy them things. And it was really funny, like use of technology. I thought, oh, how cool. Like, and they went on, like, people were then like, they'd spent a lot of money on them because it went to all their followers and people would get on and go, oh, that's funny. Let me send them something really funny that they have to eat or they have to drink. And so it was quite cool and interactive. But yeah, I think it can also, as you mentioned, if you're not the right demographic for that, can really hinder the experience, you know? Um, so, now I've got some stats to throw at you, and you might already know them, but the impact of one unsatisfied customer. So 75% of guests still prefer human interaction when it comes to hospitality in hotels and restaurants. Um, Despite digital options, 3 out of 4 hotel guests still prefer interacting with real staff. And that's from Oracle Hospitality, which is a pretty big company within the hospitality industry. And I think that's pretty true. It can be very convenient, but we like that touch. A lot of us, when we're traveling to hotels and things like that, it's a holiday and we want the full experience. It's different for business. Only 1 in 26 people complain. Did anyone know that?
Hmm.
No? So for every
Yeah.
customer who complains, 25 others simply leave without saying anything. And that is me 100%. And I tell my students that a lot. I am not someone that complains. I don't need to, unless there's a way that they might be open to the opportunity or to fix it. A lot of the time, if I've had a bad experience, I can tell if it's going to be received positively or negatively, and I'll just leave. There's so many other options out there. I don't bother coming back. But it's a scary thought to think that only 1 in 26 people will actually voice their, concerns. Feedback is pretty important. And again, I think if we use technology in one way which is good, which is you don't have to confront the person that's maybe caused this, and you can openly complain. Well, that's a good way of receiving the feedback. But then it can go the other way where maybe something small that isn't that big of a deal can be amplified online, and it stays online forever. You know,
I have a story for you for that because one
hit
time in
us.
Doha we booked a room. It was supposed to face, to face the sea, the beach, something like that. I can't remember exactly the details, but yeah, they gave us another room. It was supposed to be a big room, and they give us like it suits something like this, but they give us just a room, a regular one. So we got really upset, and then I usually go online on Google. I have like so many viewers on Google. What do you call it? Google Photos. I take photos and I do
Yeah, you did
reviews.
show me that once, actually. Yeah.
So I told them, listen, I'll really make a bad feedback on Google review, and you wouldn't want to like this. You wouldn't like this. And they said, no, go ahead, blah blah blah. So my husband got nervous. He said, okay, back off. I will do it. He does that sometimes, and
Yeah.
he did it. And then by the time we went up to the room, we came down. We had the manager apologizing for us. Please, just forget about the post. We will give you another room. My husband said, we are busy, we're going out. He said, okay, by the time you come, you'll find everything, move from this place to that place. And they gave us like a whole big suite, with a
Mm.
reception and a kitchenette. And like amazing. So sometimes when you complain, or if you paid for something and you didn't take the service, you can actually demand your right. Now with social media, everybody's afraid you know of this backlash, and
Mhm.
we were
Mhm.
honest after putting this feedback. We said, like after this one, we said like the manager contacted us, and he rectified the mistake, and look at now to our new room, and we
Mm.
posted the picture. So yes, sometimes you need to do it.
I
This
think
is how
so.
the
Yeah.
world understands nowadays,
Yeah,
apparently.
you're right. It can feel like you're threatening, but you're not. That's what I mean. If they receive it as, it's just feedback that this is you're
Mm,
not happy with the product or service, it's now an opportunity for the company to fix that service failure and then maybe make an even better impression, which is what's happened to you. There's a few stories, and there's a really famous story. I don't have time to get into it, but if you'd like, I'll share the YouTube.
yeah, sometimes
Oh,
they use it in a bad way. Yeah, that's
sometimes they use it in a bad way, but sometimes it's a great opportunity to admit that there was a fault and really make a customer for life on how you've fixed it, you know?
mm,
But
yeah, true.
it's quite rare. It is quite rare.
True, yeah.
Um, yeah, and then you've got down the bottom there, only 38% feel valued in a tech-only interactions. Again, that's specific to the service that you're looking for. But ultimately, emotional connection equals loyalty, which is exactly what you're saying there, Haya. Like that emotional touch of the manager apologizing, saying it, fixing it, that's really what stuck, and that the,
Yeah,
the fact
true.
that he was quick to action proves that they are
Exactly,
aware
yeah.
of it. Yeah.
Mm.
Bringing back the human touch. Now, I've got a video, but I think we're getting close to time, so I will share it. I think it's a really funny video, and I encourage you to watch it. It's from a show called Sunny. It's Sunny in Philadelphia. I don't really watch the show. I just saw this snippet and thought this is perfect for the world right now and what I'm teaching today. So I will share the notes with you and the video link. But what are some personal touches you think matter in customer service? What's something that you think is really stands out?
Smile.
Oh, I was
Yep,
going to say the same
easy.
thing. Smile. Exactly.
Mm, mm.
Mm.
How hard is it?
Any
Yeah,
others?
depends what level you go to, but definitely using your name is good.
It's a good point. Really good point.
If
Um,
they know it, like you can't really do that at McDonald's, but I mean you
yeah, well,
can
they
do it
can.
at lots of places. And it's never been not anything to do with technology, but it's always been
No,
that way.
no, I think you're right, and that is a good point. That in technology, they have your name through the apps, through
They
the
do
services.
actually, yes.
It doesn't feel the same. Reading Mr. Baines or Lachlan on a screen, it's not the same as approaching someone who says, hello, Mr. Baines. You go, oh wow, that's nice. That is a big thing.
Mm.
Which leads me to the small things matter. Down the bottom there, so I used to work for Four Seasons, and Isidore Sharp is the founder. He's not alive anymore, but had this kind of ethos about customer service. And the Four Seasons have a golden rule, which is treat others as you would like to be treated. Pretty generic. Everyone can kind of agree that that's a nice way to live. But one of the things that Four Seasons do under this golden rule, so we had a 3-day induction for just general work. 3 days sitting in these conference rooms and getting inducted to the Four Seasons family. Um, a lot of it was, your typical corporate stuff, but some of it was really good, and I took from that the name. So whenever you go to a Four Seasons hotel, if anyone have been there or property, they will call you by your name. Everyone knows your name. It is shared in every department, so they know that in that room is Mrs. Smythe. When you join and you come down to the restaurant and say, "Good evening, Mrs. Smythe." Every chance, even if you say, "Good evening, Mrs. Smith," they encourage you to say the name as you think it should be said, and then let the guest correct you. Right? It means more that you use the name than to just ignore it and go, "Good evening, ma'am." Still nice, still lovely. That's better than you get in a lot of places, but that extra little tiny step of knowing someone's name goes a long way. Some other points there of making eye contact. That's a big one. Using small personal touches. So if you do know that someone likes a particular area to sit or a particular hotel room or a particular beverage, knowing those things goes a long way too, make people feel like they belong. Be present and genuinely engaged, which is something I think we take for granted now. It's easy to listen and, for me, wait my turn to speak. Sometimes it's hard to stop and really listen and be engaged in the moment. Um, and then I think a big one is also adaptability. So how do we use technology? And if it fails, how do we then fix it? So it's not our be all and end all, you know? Cool. So our takeaways from the lesson. Technology can support service, but it should never replace the connection. How will you make sure the human touch stays alive in your future hospitality role? Obviously, you're not in hospitality, but hopefully, I think everyone, us as teachers, have to have a lot of empathy to be, successful with the students, understand and adapt to the needs of them. Comes with the title, I think, or comes with the job description. But I think it's important to realize hospitality is not just about food and beverage or hotels. It's just being a hospitable person and understanding that technology is very helpful, but it can also be a real nuisance for some people. Cool. Does anyone have any questions for me?
No, but that was fun to listen to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hmm.
You don't have to.
I want to know what you think is going to be the biggest change in the next 10 years
In hospitality or technology?
in the technology in hospitality.
I think there's some things that are already out there that haven't quite taken a hold of the industry, which will. So certain things like for a hotel keyless entry, it used to be your metal key, then it was the plastic fob card, whatever the cards. Now it's through your phone, through an app in a lot of
Oh,
hotels.
that'd be
So
good.
you just use your PIN code, hold it there, and you get into the room. There's things like iPads in rooms now that control the TV, the lights, the air conditioning, everything. So that sort of technology is being used across the board, and it just at different levels. Um, I also think that, unfortunately, I think unless some really big players in the industry get on board, it is actually more going towards the technology. I think the younger people do like it, and we obviously have to play to the demographic that's going to spend the money, and that this kind of self-service is more convenient, you know. Um, like kiosks, like going and sitting in Japan, there's restaurants where you can sit down and there's the screen and you punch in what you want, and then there's a little hole where you're sitting and the food just comes through there and you eat and you push it back when you're done, and that's the whole experience. And there's even a trend of, I don't know if anyone's heard of it. Oh, I can't remember the name of it now. But there's a whole trend out there. People film themselves eating and put it on YouTube or whatever. And so when you're sitting and eating on your own, for all these people that are alone, they watch other people eat. And so it feels like it's really sad. It's really sad. Um, yeah. So I'm not sure that we're winning, but I like to think one person at a time.
Awesome. Thank you. That was awesome.
My
That was
pleasure.
great.
Thank you. Thank you
Hey.
all.
Thank you.
Final quote.
That was great. Yeah.
Stay human, stay present, stay memorable.
Look at your cute little
Oh, very
curtains.
good.
Thanks.
Very impressive.
Nice.